to female transgender. I'm going to try to talk in a different kind of voice, though it's still very hard for me to talk in the female range. I'm starting to take lessons, but I find that it's going to take me a long time to get where I want to be with my voice. I'm going to read a post that I did on Facebook, but before I do, I want to mention there is another post that I just posted that I learned from one of the transgender transgender Facebook pages about a girl, trans girl, 17, named Leela, who sadly committed suicide. And the tragic circumstances surrounding her suicide was that she had a lot of friction between her and her parents, and her parents weren't accepting of her transitioning, and she was devastated that she didn't get the support of her family, specifically her parents. And she wrote in her blog a suicide note, and I read it, and it was very sad. I cried reading it, and it struck a chord with me, because I recently did a video on YouTube also, where I mentioned that I wanted to commit suicide and that I was planning that. But luckily for me, someone took action, and that's why I'm still here. I was taken to the hospital by the police, and I spent a week in the hospital. So I know the pain that she felt. I feel it myself. I know the feelings of severe depression that arise from being transgender. I know what gender dysphoria is all about. I struggle with that every day of my life. So it's very sad and tragic. And I pray for Leela, and I hope she has peace and is happy in heaven, where now she can be the girl that she always felt she was in her heart. I will say a prayer for her and hope that these tragedies don't occur, and that families and friends come to accept their children for who they are, and not show hatred. I have friends that have asked me, and even family members, relatives, about my own personal situation. So I tried to develop a list of the most common questions that I've been asked, and I wanted to do it on YouTube to kind of chronicle and have it as a reference for me in my own male to female transition. So I'm going to read some of these. Well, I'm going to read the questions and have my answers read as well. So here goes. When did you realize you felt different? Well, I was 3 years old when I knew something was wrong with the way I felt. I dressed and wanted to dress in secret in girls' clothes instead of boys' clothes. So I knew at a very young age that I wasn't normal, in the sense that I felt comfortable as a boy. I definitely identified as a girl, and I was drawn to girls' clothes right from the start. Age 3 is the earliest that I recollect, but I know in my heart that I was and desperately wanted to be a girl at such a young age. How did you deal with your feelings of being different? I kept to myself and I cross-dressed in secret as often as I could. Cross-dressing for me was a safe haven. I didn't really have any friends. I kept quiet. I never talked socially with people. I was very awkward amongst boys and girls, so it was very hard. 3. Did you tell your parents how you felt? No, I did not, but I regret that I wasn't open about it. But I was concerned how it would affect them, so I never told them. My parents both struggle with depression, so I didn't want to add my own transgender struggles onto that, so I never did tell them. And I do feel sad that I wasn't able to share my true self with my mom and dad, but in thinking about it, I think if I did tell them, I think they would be okay, but I didn't want to hurt them, and I was afraid, so I never came out to my parents. What types of clothes did you wear or like to wear when you cross-dressed? Dresses, dresses, and dresses. I love dresses. I always was drawn to a dress. Ever since I tried on my sister's dress, and I just felt more comfortable. I was happy. Number 5, how old were you when you first cross-dressed? Well, I guess you could call it cross-dressing, but I was 3 years old when I tried on my sister's dress, and ever since I've been cross-dressing. So I've been cross-dressing all my life, essentially. How often did or do you cross-dress? Oh, I've been cross-dressing all my life. I never had any doubts about it. I did stop on occasions for various reasons, and I tried to rid myself of cross-dressing by purging my clothes, which means by getting rid of them. I wanted to be normal, and I got scared that the cross-dressing was a compulsion and it was controlling me, so I tried to stop doing it, but eventually it just came back. Those feelings intensified, and I could never stop those feelings. They were prevalent, and not only the cross-dressing feelings, but the feelings of being in the wrong body, the gender dysphoria that permeated my life. I couldn't get around it. It was a big part of my life, and I just felt like I could never do anything, but I was afraid. I didn't seek therapy. I was too young. I didn't come out. I didn't tell anybody. I kept it a secret, bottled up, and I tried to do the boy things and just try to fit in, but I never fit in. So it was very hard, and it took me many, many years to finally come out. But I've been cross-dressing all my life. Since the age of 3. How did you interact with others, and who did you prefer to be around? Well, I was extremely shy, and I kept to myself. I did play Little League Baseball, and I made some friends with some of the boys on the team, but I was pretty shy, and I preferred to be around the girls, but I never really had any real relationships or friendships with anybody, girls included, because I felt out of place. Whether I was with the boys or the girls, I just didn't fit in. My situation was unique, and I didn't know anybody like me, and I didn't know how to explain it. So I just kept it bottled up inside, and it really affected me. And sometimes I wonder if I went back in time and sought the help or talked to my parents about it, what may have transpired. But I don't really do that. There's no point. But I preferred the company of girls because I identified as a girl. How did you come out? Well, I came out in my early 30s. I wanted to come out much earlier than that. I wanted to come out at age 16, but I couldn't. But in my early 30s, I was very depressed, and I needed to do something. And I knew my situation. I knew I was transgender. And I wrote a letter to my two sisters and a college friend, hoping that that would help me get past my being in the closet. And the only thing that came of it was that we briefly talked about it. They expressed shock about that, what I wrote, but it wasn't the end of the world. However, the thoughts of transitioning kind of got sidetracked and put on the back burner because I couldn't talk to them about it beyond the letter. So I felt sad about that. So the initial coming out was a failure, if you want to call it that, because it didn't take me anywhere. I just made a point. I revealed the secret to 3 people, and that was it, nothing else. So, and on my second attempt, obviously I came out first to my wife, and I told her personally. And for the rest of the family and world out there, I came out publicly on Facebook. I used the social media to come out. Who were the first individuals you told? These questions are a bit repetitive, but I told my 2 sisters and my college friend on my first attempt, and on my second attempt, my wife. How old were you when you realized you had gender dysphoria? Well, gender dysphoria is when your mind believes it's the opposite gender of your body. So I knew that I was different at the age of 3, but I didn't know that I was transgender. I had no idea I was a baby. But I found out through researching in the library about transsexuals, and I realized that was what I was. So I realized at the age of 12 that I was transgender / transsexual. So I knew at that age that I was going to have some issues to deal with over time. So yes, I knew I had gender dysphoria at the age of 12. How old were you when you started your transition? Well, I would have liked to have transitioned at the age of 16, but I was 51 when I started my transition 2.5 years ago. Well, actually, three years ago, because I'm going to be 54 in January. Are you on HRT, hormone replacement therapy? Yes. I take estradiol for the estrogen and spironolactone for the testosterone blocker. I started HRT at 51 years old when I decided to transition. I got my prescriptions, my scripts, after going to Callan Lloyd for a few months. My primary doctor at Callan Lloyd put me on an HRT regimen. And I still go, obviously, to my doctor at Callan Lloyd. Great place. How does your transition affect your family, wife, son? It was very difficult coming out to my wife and son. It has been an adjustment, and I am very sensitive to both my wife and son regarding it. They are dealing with the situation as best they can. My son has matured tremendously, and as an autistic child, he accepts me as transgender. My wife is strong and is quiet about it. So they're both coming to terms with my transitioning. I go out with my son and present as a female. He's okay with that. We go for therapy, family counseling. So we're doing the right things. He goes to a school that is aware of the situation at home, and they have counselors that help him. My wife has her network of girlfriends for her support. And they realize that I'm just trying to find my own happiness. I'm just trying to be me. And they understand. It took a while, but they've come to accept and understand, and to really get to see the real me and realize that I'm the same person. I'm just transitioning my outer exterior to feel more comfortable and match, hopefully, my inner feelings. So I want to present more female, feminine, to match how I feel inside, which is female. So overall, they are okay accepting of it. What was the typical reaction of family and friends when you first came out? Shock and disbelief. There weren't any friends who said, oh, I could tell, nor family members. It was all shock and disbelief. And I was surprised, because I would have thought that there were a few friends or family who would have said, oh, I kind of realized something like that was going on with you. But I didn't get that. Everyone was shocked and in disbelief. Did any of your family or friends stop talking with you since you started your transition? Sadly, yes. My two sisters don't talk to me. And I lost quite a few friends in the process. But the way I look at it is, if they're not accepting of me because of my transgender situation, then they're not really friends. And I've made new friends. The situation with my sisters upsets me, but I don't know what to say. I am out there. I'm friendly. I'm not a bad person. I'm just doing what I need to do for my own inner happiness, and if they don't understand, then that's their problem, not mine. How did you come out at work? I wasn't sure how to come out. So I did it in a cowardly way. I text messaged that I had gender dysphoria and I was intending to transition, and to my supervisor. And reply back was that I'm a good person, and she also replied back that we'll talk. And it took about a week before she called me into the office to talk about it, and she said that she really wasn't thrilled about it, and she thought that I was making a big mistake, and she was trying to talk me out of it. Essentially, she was not for it at all. And obviously I lost my job in the process. I took on a new job where I was transitioning, but I only had that job for 7 months, and they terminated me, so I'm not working right now, but I'm on disability, and I struggle with bipolar disorder. But it's sad to know that a lot of employers still today discriminate against transgender individuals, and that's very sad, because transgender people have just as much a right to work and contribute, and they are very dedicated just like anybody else, hardworking. So I don't know why society puts us down. I think it's wrong, and I think a lot of societal standards force a lot of transgender people, sadly, to commit suicide. So, I just am very heartbroken about that. Was it hard when you bought girls' or women's clothing at the stores? Yes. When I used to go shopping as a young teenager, when I had some money, up until my mid-20s, it was very hard. I was scared, petrified. The hardest part was shopping in the intimate section. Believe it or not, I felt more comfortable buying dresses, but I still was very nervous. I was scared that they would think I'm buying them for myself, which I was. But I never really had anybody question me. I mean, they just were concerned about ringing up the sale. So, and if somebody asked me if I needed help with dress selections or whatever, I just said, no, I'm just looking. And, they just turned around. So, yes, it was hard in the beginning. But after a while, I felt very comfortable and started to even go into I would go out dressed. Initially, I would go out dressed in guy mode because I didn't feel comfortable in female mode. But over time, as I progressed, I started to go out, not that much in female mode, but I got a little more comfortable in guy mode buying female clothing. But it took a while. And if you ask most transgender individuals, they'll tell you the same thing. It's very rare that you are able to buy with no fear or worry. Transgender people always fear being read and what the possible repercussions could be. So, you have to be very careful. But I never really had any problems. All my fears were really for naught. So, it's okay. You can shop and nobody's going to bother you. When did you first go out dressed in public as a girl or woman? I was 26 years old when I first tried to go out dressed in public in women's clothing. I went by myself, and I just went to the mall basically. I probably sat in my car longer in the mall parking lot than I did walking around the mall. But once I started walking around, it was fun, but I was scared because it was my first time, and I remember a few teenage girls laughing, so I knew that they read me, but they didn't say anything, but that kind of scared me to the point that I didn't go back out for quite some time after that. So it wasn't a positive experience. I was hoping it would be, but it was my first attempt, and I think it was okay. When did you start living 24/7 in the female gender role? I started my transition seriously at between age 51 and 52, so you could say 51 and a half. And I've been presenting as a female from that age. I'm going to be 54, so almost 2.5 years that I've been presenting as a female 24/7. Do you wish to have a sex change operation? The answer is yes. I do wish to have GRS, gender reassignment surgery, sex change operation, but it seems I won't be able to, as it is not affordable for me. I'd have to deal with it, but I'm very sad because I won't ever achieve my lifelong dream of living as a fully fledged female. I'll always be reminded of my male body when I look in the mirror if I'm not able to do the surgery. For me, it would be the best, the most, the greatest gift that I could ever imagine. The dream of dreams for me, if I could have the gender reassignment surgery sex change operation. I would be so happy and thrilled. But unfortunately, I don't have the luxury, and I have a son who's autistic that needs proper resources, which I still don't have. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. Where do you like to shop? Usually I go to Target, Kmart, Forever 21, TJ Maxx, Kohl's, Macy's, Sears, JCPenney, The Gap, H&M, and Estelle's Dressy Dresses. I usually like to go to those stores. I get good bargains. I usually try not to spend more than $40 a dress, and I've gotten some dresses discounted to almost $5. Target sometimes has clearance sales where you can get a good dress for almost not even $10. And Kohl's also, I've gone to Kohl's when they had 50 to 60% off the sticker price. So I've been fortunate to come across some good sales and found some nice dresses in the process.